Good evening, Rob and Jean and Tony and everyone on the line. We will start with opening comments. First of all, we had a nice ceremony, tree dedication ceremony today in memory of John Benson. John passed away along with his sister-in-law and nephew in a tragic incident last winter, carbon monoxide poisoning. So it was a very nice ceremony in John's memory, and I think everybody that attended appreciated sharing memories of John. So that was
Josh,
nice.
who is the contact for the trees for donations?
Well, there's a tree committee, and there's a form on the Nahant.org website. And like most things, Tony tends to coordinate it, but there's a few stakeholders. There's a tree committee, open space committee. So one of the things we do is make sure that the type of tree is appropriate for the setting, make sure it's going to survive and all that sort of thing. This was a pitch pine planted off a marginal way where it does get a little salt spray, and those trees thrive well in that environment. So it's kind of a process in a nutshell. I think there's a form to fill out on which you search for tree dedication or something like that. You'll find the form.
I should know this, but what's the cost of donating for those people that want to know?
I think it's 750. Is that right, Tony?
Yeah, well, so you start with filling out the application, and then it kind of depends on the pricing of the tree. The town doesn't, make any money off of the trees, so it's just whatever the cost of the tree is, the installation, and the plaque. I believe it's at the end of the day, I think it's cheaper than doing a memorial bench. But I think you're somewhere between $1,000, $1,500 probably.
For a tree?
Yeah, for the tree, depending on the pricing that we get from
The nursery?
the nursery. Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, thanks. I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's become more popular now, especially because there aren't many or any spots left for memorial benches. So it's a nice way to remember loved ones and beautify the town at the same time.
I'm sorry I couldn't attend, but I understand it was a good, nice event.
Yeah, and I did mention that you would have been there. You haven't just had oral surgery, so you're getting extra credit for joining the meeting tonight, just for what you went through yesterday. All right, so some additional announcements. Early voting for the state election. Early voting will take place at the Nahant Town Hall prior to the state election on November 5th, 2024. Early voting hours can be found at nahant.org. Metal, white goods, TVs, computers, etc. Recycling is the last Saturday of each month from October until October. So this is the last one until the spring. Last Saturday from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon behind the DPW garage. Nahant resident parking stickers required. Certain fees may apply. Visit nahant.org for a full list of accepted material. October 26th will be the last Saturday for this season. Compost area is open on Wednesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 2024 resident parking stickers required. Visit the Public Works page at nahant.org for a full list of accepted material. Leaf pickup. Some Monday pickups, they're being picked up on Monday mornings. Some Monday mornings will be moved to Tuesdays due to Monday holidays. Leaves must be in biodegradable bags and to the curb by 7 a.m. Visit the Nahant Public Works page, the Public Works page at nahant.org for more information. One last announcement. Jeez, I'm trying to read too fast here. for the vacant school committee seat. Nahant School Committee currently has one vacancy. Send letters of interest to Patty Karras, which is her email is Karras, Karras Patty, PATTY @gmail.com by October 18th. So that's Friday. For a list of other committee and board vacancies, visit nahant.org. I'm guessing that maybe that email could also be sent to Kay Taylor at nahant.org, and Kristen could pass it on to Patty Karras. There is a PTO annual Halloween bash Saturday, October 19th, 2024, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Major League Field at Flash Road. Trunk or treat event is from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. on the same day in the DPW fire station parking lot. So that's Saturday, this Saturday, the 19th. And water, sewer, and trash bills are due on October 25th. Real estate tax bills are due on November 1st, 2024. Short-term rental fee public comment period. This is a reminder that there is a comment period open to make any comments you want on the short-term rental fees. Send all comments on the short-term rental fees to Kay Taylor at nahant.org by November 1st, 2024. To view the proposed fee schedule, visit the short-term rental page at nahant.org. There will be no delay in the pickup of trash and recycling this week. Although Monday was a holiday at the town hall, there will be no delay. So put your barrels out at the regular time and date. Next on the agenda, we have a public hearing. The Nahant Board of Selectmen, acting as the local liquor licensing authority, we have a vote to take to amend the liquor license for Victoria Hall, Bayside LLC, One Range Road, Nahant, Mass.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to move the Board of Selectmen acting as the local licensing authority open for the public hearing.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay, so our public hearing is now in session. I think we have some people on the line here, but we'll take the next motion for what we're going to be voting on. Take it. I move that the Board of Selectmen approve Victoria Hall Bayside LLC's application for multiple amendments to its all alcohol liquor license, seeking to 1, transfer the ownership interest from Nizelia Santos 25%, Roan Barossa de Salva 25%, Luciania de Salva 25%, and Garfield Antonio 25% to Nizelia Santos, who will then have 100% ownership interest in the licensee. And 2, to remove Roan Barbosa de Silva as the LLC manager of the licensee. And 3, replace Nadir Celio as manager of record on the license with Nizelia Santos as the new manager of record on the license. We have a second on that long motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion. This is a time when the public can make any comments. I think we have some representatives on the call.
Yes.
Let's see.
Yes,
Santos here. Mr. Richard.
Yes, thank you, and good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Attorney Sam Richard, representing Victoria Hall Bayside LLC. We are requesting, as the motion read, 3 changes or amendments to the license. First, the ownership interest is changing to 100% ownership interest by Miss Nizelia Santos. Her ex-partner, Ronnie Da Silva, and his wife, Lucinea Da Silva, are no longer a part of the business. And currently and moving forward, she will be the 100% owner and operator and looks forward to continuing to be a part of the Nahant community in a positive manner. Second, Ms. Santos is now the sole manager of the LLC, and we are requesting that Mr. Da Silva be removed as an LLC manager. And then lastly, we are requesting that Ms. Santos be appointed the manager of record on the license. She is a naturalized U.S. citizen and Massachusetts resident with knowledge and training in the rules and regulations related to the sale of alcoholic beverages in the Commonwealth. She has undergone training programs online. And again, we humbly request that the board approve this multiple amendment application for a change of ownership interest, change of LLC manager, and to appoint Ms. Santos as the license manager, the manager of the license. Thank you.
All right, so Ms. Santos, you've been managing it, most recently, is that correct? In addition to your partial ownership? Oh, you're muted. Let's see if we can unmute here. To unmute yourself, I think you go, if you can put your cursor in the upper right-hand corner of your.
Yes, hi.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
That's
trying.
okay.
Yes, abri operator, everything there.
All right, thanks. And were you the person that organized a meeting with some of the neighbors, or have been in some
Yes,
Yeah, thank you for doing that. I know there've been a couple concerns from neighborhoods over some loud noise late at night, and it sounds, appreciate you trying to resolve those questions, those issues, and working with the neighbors and so on. So I certainly hope you continue with that outreach, and are of course respectful of the neighbors, and we wish you luck and success with the business too.
thank you. I'm trying to work with the neighbors, make sure we are a team, work together on there.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is there any more discussion?
Josh, I think you've covered it. I really appreciate that Ms. Santos has taken the opportunity to meet with some of the neighbors. Obviously, thickly settled area. But the opportunity is fantastic, and I'm glad to see that you're carrying the business forward. Obviously, it's a benefit to the town to have that facility operating, and you've got a great view. I'm looking forward to your sort of becoming part of the neighborhood and enjoying the opportunities that location will afford you.
Thank you so much.
And I myself am looking forward to a change in conduct at that facility in that area, because the neighbors have had some real difficulties here over the last 6 to 8, 12 months. So it's good that you're going in. We'll look forward to a good report from the neighbors.
Well, I think it's nice to have a manager that is 100% responsible. I noticed that the management had been divided into 25% each, and now it's all in your lap. So here we go.
Yes.
That does help. So this is a public hearing. So this is the opportunity for any member of the public that's here on this Zoom call to make any comment or ask any questions while we're in this public hearing. If you want to say something, you can raise your hand or unmute yourself and speak. I don't see anything happening here. So if we have no public comments from the public, and there's no further discussion, we can have a roll call vote. Any more
Gene Canty,
discussion?
aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Ms. Santos, and thank you, Mr. Richard, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you and
Mr.
good
Chairman,
luck.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call vote on closing the hearing.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Okay, we have new business, vote to approve lobster trap storage leases.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the lobster trap storage leases for the term of 1 year from September 1st, 2024 to August 31st, 2025 to the following people: Anthony Alessi, Bill Mahoney, Jim Maletti, Josh Mahoney, Justin Mahoney, Rick Maletti, Steve Scaglione, and Tucker Allen.
Second.
Okay, and all those people listed have signed their lease agreement and paid the required storage fee. Tony, just out of curiosity, so we're in the discussion phase. So just out of curiosity, are we still awaiting any additional leases or payments?
I think we are waiting for one more, but I expect it soon.
Okay. Okay.
Tony,
That's great.
you know, just a question, and that is, are you comfortable with everything that's taken place down there over the last year? Seems to be some great improvements.
I am. I think, the lobstermen have really worked hard to, keep that area presentable. And I think, some of the changes that we instituted just simply by, having this lease go from September, start in September versus in January, was one of those things because it helps allow them to, clean up their areas while their traps are in the ocean. And we've been providing metal dumpster there for any old traps that need to get removed. So the area is definitely being well kept, and we appreciate the lobstermen's partnership on that.
That's great.
Tony, how many lots are there in total down there?
Oh,
Are we using them all based on the list that we just read now?
I believe we have one that is not being used currently.
Okay.
The total amount of lots, I want to say it's 12, 13, or 14. I forget how many exactly. But we got one empty one right now. And we might eliminate it completely and kind of shift it down a little bit. We're looking into ways to better arrange that area. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further discussion on the lobster trap storage leases? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Some ongoing business. First item is Kings Beach outfall discussion. At the last meeting, I had planned to draft a letter to share with you all regarding the Kings Beach outfall. That's the Stacy Brook that empties out onto Kings Beach, and it's been getting a lot of press and a lot of attention, which I'm very glad to hear about. I had sort of my own thoughts about what I wanted to say, and before I wrote those things down, I thought I really better educate myself on this and get a very thorough understanding of the status of the efforts that's going on. So I reached out to person named Andrea Moore, who's seems to be organizing a lot of the civic efforts. Planning on discussing things with her. I don't want to, be counterproductive to ongoing efforts. So thought I should really understand the picture more thoroughly. Tony's given me some information about some of the things that Lynn and Swampscott are planning to announce and so on. So I'd like to delay our letter until we get a more thorough understanding of what is being done and what is not being done and what's planned and that sort of thing. But I think that,
Josh, I totally agree with you 100%. I think we need to get more involved in it and have a greater understanding of it. Just that email that Andrea sent out on the Fluvian testing system. That system alone is something you can use overnight. I don't know if you picked up on that, but you could test at 7 o'clock on the night before and 9 o'clock in the morning, know whether you can go to the beach or not. And that's something. Tony, how's that work now? Not for them, but how's the testing process work? Does that improve it significantly?
And yeah, unfortunately, the current way of testing, isn't great. It's not, at the standards that I think a lot of us want it to be at. Right now, you grab a sample, you send it to the lab. It's 24 hours before you get a result. By the time the result comes in, it doesn't even accurately reflect what the current state of the water is because of the tide cycle. So, in many times we will then retest it the next day after a test comes back that calls for the water to be closed. And then 24 hours later from that, the test will come back clean. So doesn't always go that way, but in that example, it was day one of the test, the beach is open and people are swimming. And day two, the result comes back and says close it. And then day three, the result says that day two was clean. So in fact, people were swimming on day one when they shouldn't have been. They weren't allowed to swim on day two when they could have been. So it's not the best system. Unfortunately, it's what that's not a local system. That's through the state and whoever they use for that. So everybody deals with that same issue. So yeah, quicker results on testing would be a significant improvement.
Well, she's also talking about, or they're talking about, Swampscott is talking about grant monies for this. It costs, and there's some mention of us in there joining in with Lynn, Swampscott, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know how significant that statement is, but it appears as though it's expensive. It's $40,000, and it's $15,000 a year for maintenance. So it's not a cheap program, but it's certainly one that can give us or give the public what they want to know overnight, as you were just mentioning.
Right.
I guess I just want to say that, the testing is one thing, but the real problem is untreated untreated water is being discharged on a continual basis there. So testing, great. Yes. Faster results, more accurate, all that stuff. But I don't want, this is my personal view, is that you got to get at the root of the problem. And this has been discussed at least my entire adult life. So it's time to take some hard action and do the job right.
Yeah, so I did speak with the town administrator in Swampscott, and I spoke to Mayor Lynn. There's definitely some interest in having the town participate in the process. And I believe that they are gonna release some form of communication or update as to where they are currently and what they've accomplished so far and what options are in front of them for consideration. I think that, as you said, Josh, the testing piece isn't part of that. But it's in addition to it. It's a separate kind of initiative that I think, not even just Swampscott, Lynn, and Nahant, but the Metro Beaches Commission is really pushing that, Save the Harbor, Save the Bay, pushing for some state funding to help with that type of stuff. So yeah, I like your approach. I think, we should, probably hold off and let them, lead the communication outward and then follow up from there.
Well, we
Sounds
had
good.
talked about that one or two of our last meetings, setting it up so that at least one of us, well, most likely one of us would attend different meetings that they hold, which are every 2 weeks, as I've found out. And just to give us an opportunity to sit in and listen to where this is going, and then carry out what Rob, not Rob, but Josh and yourself are talking about. And I'm thinking maybe some sort of a de facto committee. I don't know if we want to committee size this, but I think time flies.
I don't know, I think, we have to keep in mind that, the problem here that's trying to be solved is not in Nahant, right? It's not our problem. But there's a regional aspect to the issues being caused by this problem. And certainly there's solutions that are on the table that we have interest in having more information on and having a say on. So I don't know if we, want to push too hard on creating our own committee. But I did speak, as I said, with the mayor and the town administrator of Swampscott, about, the task force and, I got positive response on interest of having the town, participate in those conversations, but, it's their task force. So,
Yeah.
I think we got to work with them,
Right.
in a positive manner. So,
Understood.
I certainly hope that they would offer us a seat at the table once they are making progress towards the list of solutions that they might pursue. Quick question, Tony, do you know if these meetings are being run on Zoom or are they live?
no, they're not public meetings. It's a
Not
task
public, okay.
force. So
But as a private meeting, is it still electronic or is it people sitting in a room?
I don't know for sure.
Okay, I mean, I just thought there might be an opportunity to have somebody receive an invitation just to watch. I don't know if that's possible.
Rob, that woman's name is on there. Andrea, what's it, Josh? Last name?
More.
Amore. And maybe we contact her and find out when they meet and how they meet.
Yeah.
Again, I've made the request through, the mayor and the town
Yeah.
administrator of Swampscott. I think we should. I think, from myself or from the Board of Selectmen, we should stay at that level.
Yeah.
And get there. The request has been made. It's under consideration. I got a positive response. I see things moving in the right direction. So instead of, trying to get in through another route, I think let's see that through.
I agree with that. It just, give it a chance to grow out a little bit from your first inquiries. I throw the question out as a potential opportunity where we could, again, just listen in. Hopefully we'll get to something like that, but yeah, please continue to touch base with those folks and let us know.
Tony, just to add to this, I noticed that there's nothing on there about what I've been asking about the air quality. And I know you've got enough on your plate that you don't have to be chasing down things that I'm asking for, but
No,
Is
I
it-
did. I chased it down for you. I spoke
did
to
it
the
again.
town. I talked to Sean about that too. That's the result of a grant that they applied for a couple years ago, actually, through I think DEP. And so it is he explained to me that it's a rolling grant submission process. So my thought was we might be able to, if we apply for it, and I haven't been able to look into the grant. I don't know what the eligibility requirements are yet, so I don't want to make, any promises, but I'm going to look into that. And, maybe if we apply as a regional expansion to Swampscott's grant, it could fast track it. So, I'm going to look into that.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. Do you think in the interim, there's a possibility of testing one?
Borrowing, you mean? Borrowing one of Swampscott's?
Borrowing?
I don't think so because of the contract agreement for the grant.
Yeah.
It's for the town of Swampscott, but Dan, when we were talking with Mass the group, the regional group of that when we were dealing with RNAV.
Oh, sure. The impact committee or something. Sure.
They had talked about, doing air quality testing, sound testing, while they're going through this pilot phase of the RNAV.
Well, noise is a form of air pollution, believe it or not. So
Yeah.
that's why that's in that realm.
Right.
Do you remember they talked about doing that?
Yeah.
As part of like this pilot process.
I don't recall them
program?
talking about the toxicity of the air. I recall them talking about the noise, but not the, what's actually in the air. But I can always reach out to them and find out what their position is, where they're going with that.
So we got a couple different leads to track down, Gene, on how we could, move this along quickly.
No, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's see. All right, so that's it on the Kings Beach outfall. The water sewer trash abatement policy discussion. You've been working on this, Tony. It's the latest and greatest.
Oh, yes. Let me share my screen. So fairly simple changes. Let's see. You see this?
Yep.
So probably the biggest change is, we've had water and sewer abatement and adjustments, regs and policy, and then we had a separate policy for trash abatements. So one of the biggest things is kind of combining those two into one policy, because now we charge water, sewer, and trash during the same bill period, three bills per fiscal year. So some of it is just kind of house cleaning so that the regs are amended to reflect the process that we go through now. So just changing it to utility bill abatements and adjustments versus water sewer, and then breaking the two down. We really want to try to institute an understanding that it's a utility bill. It's not a water bill, it's not a sewer bill, it's not a trash bill, it's a utility bill. So all utilities are on that bill. And one of the biggest things is if you come in for a like if you come in for an abatement because you're like you compost, so you get a $20 abatement on your trash. When we apply that $20 abatement to your utility bill, on the bill, it actually gets applied to water first, and then abatements go to water first, sewer second, and trash third. It's just the way that our system works, our billing system works. So we're adding this language here that all abatements, regardless if they're specifically for trash, water, or sewer, they're applied to the total of the utility bill. So sometimes you'll see you'll apply for an abatement, you'll receive it, and then you get on your bill, and it looks like you're getting a full trash fee, but $20 was reduced, it was deducted from your total. So we're just kind of including that. This consumption just comes from above, moving it down to the water and sewer adjustment section to be consistent. And then we also are adding, in the past, when trash was billed one time per year at the beginning of the fiscal year, there was a partial year service due to change of use option for an abatement. But sometimes that'll come in because, a house is under construction, they have an open permit, they're not using curbside collection at the time. Maybe someone has passed away and there's, the family's still trying to figure out what they're going to do with the home. So they're not using curbside collection at that moment. Now that we bill 3 times a year, we wanted to put this language in here that, you might get an abatement for your first bill, and then you get an occupancy permit in that next 3 months from the building department. You're going to get a full bill. You're not eligible for an abatement after that fact. So it's a little bit of a difference from before when you only received 1, and now that it's broken up into 3. Also, we added the language from the private trash pickup abatement number 3 into this policy as well, because even though you may not be contributing to the curbside collection, you're not utilizing curbside collection, your trash fee goes to more than just the fees for waste management. It goes towards the entire rubbish enterprise operational budget, which is used for collecting trash at the public parks. It's used for the compost site. It's used for a number of different things. So what we do, similar to private, if you have a dumpster, we'll calculate the percentage of the enterprise operation, the rubbish enterprise operational budget. We'll calculate the percentage of that goes towards curbside collection contract. And then that's how we will abate your bill. So same thing here, partial year service. You'd be eligible for an abatement for the curbside collection that you're not using, but you still will get you still have to contribute to the overall cost of the operation. So we just wanted to add that language in there as well. And that's it.
Sounds good. So this is something we'll vote on at a future.
No, if you guys are comfortable with those changes, they're pretty minimal. A simple motion to adopt the Board of Selectmen rules and regulations as presented, I think would work.
All right, I move that the Board of Selectmen adopt the Board of Selectmen rules and regulations for utility bill abatements as presented.
Second,
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Antrim, aye. Done. Thanks, Tony, for getting that done.
Thank you.
Next up is the town administrator's report.
Okay, so Ward Road Pump Station update. If you've driven down the Nahant Road and looked right past over the softball fields, you probably have noticed that the trusses for the roof of the Ward Road Pump Station are starting to get installed. I got an update today that they're about 5 weeks out from having the building watertight. So they're moving actually ahead of schedule. They'll continue to do interior work, probably all the way through the end of the calendar year. And then their work will actually go on pause for a couple months as they wait for the electrical components to come in. Probably restart work in March. So we're moving actually ahead of schedule. We also have we are replacing the water line in the park. There's an old fire hydrant right there that, since we're there and we're doing other utility work underground, we figured we might as well add that change order in and put in a new hydrant, a new service line to it. So that project is moving right along. Yesterday, we had a deadline and met that deadline from DEP. All communities, actually, this comes down from federal government. This is a result of the Flint, Michigan water issue. DEP required all municipalities to submit a lead water service line inventory. And that process, due yesterday was just to submit an inventory of all your service lines and knowledge base of where lead service lines may or may not exist. And then the next part of the process is to continue to update that over the next couple of months. So we started by looking at property card information of year construction that homes were built, because after, I believe it was 1960, you no longer could use lead for your water service line. So if a home was built after 1960, we are confident that the water service line was replaced. We also looked at tie cards that we have in-house, which, I was telling Rob about this earlier today. It's actually pretty amazing. Even though all of our tie cards are still, in paper form on booklets, probably, made by, the DPW many, many, many years ago, they're in great shape. So we were able to collect a lot of information off of those tie cards about the material of the service lines from the main to the gate valve and then into the home. In classic Nahant format, some of those we still have to go through them because some of them are listed as, for example, Josh Antrim Spring Road, but it doesn't say or Nahant Road. It doesn't say the house number. In Nahant fashion, everybody, the DPW were able to identify homes purely based on who was living there or who built it or who originally lived there. So we're kind of going through a process of solving that mystery to figure out, those tie cards to the specific address. So we're able to update the inventory moving forward. We're also looking at capital projects that have been completed over the last, that we have as much record as possible, because if we've replaced the water main like we have on Fox Hill Road, we know that, all the service lines, at least to the gate valves, have been replaced as well. So we're, continuing to work with that. For, unknowns from gate valve to the home, our plan is when we do our water meter replacement program, we'll include an element of the installation process to test the service line in the home. So that'll solve the second, from the valve to the house. That'll give us confidence in what the material of those service lines are. So it's an ongoing project that we're making progress on. I also this week had a good initial conversation with our consultants for the Flash Road Recreation Master Plan, and Paula Devereaux, member of the Open Space and Recreation Committee. So it was a good first initial meeting to talk about, what our future schedule might look like and what our plans are going to be, what the process might look like. Our hope is to, kickstart that in the next month or so. We'll give updates in November. But for anyone interested in the Flash Road Recreation Master Plan process, please stay tuned. We'll have community meetings, public meetings, and trying to create opportunity for the public to be as involved as possible. Excuse me. Also, Coast Guard housing update. As for demo, the property on Goddard Drive has been demolished. The property, which number is that? On the left side of Goddard Drive. And the property on Castle Road, I haven't driven by there. I didn't drive by there today. If they haven't started it today, I'm sure they'll be getting to it, later this week or early next week. For Coast Guard sale process, we've had 5 bid openings. 2 bid openings are under agreement. 3 of them we received no bids for. We've selected a listing agent, Lisa Scortis, local agent with a lot of experience, who also helped, volunteered her time along with 3 other realtors that we solicited quotes from. The 4 of them, I got to give them a lot of credit for how much time they spent with me on, the process and what we want to be mindful of and what we want to include, looking at comps to set minimum pricing, things of that nature. So I reached out to those 4 to solicit quotes for limited listing services. Happy to say that last week we signed contract with Lisa Scortis. So the properties are listed on MLS as of Friday. With the long weekend, I think it was still a little not enough time really to generate a ton of feedback for this past Tuesdays. But in speaking with Lisa, she has already received a lot of inquiries from other agents who noticed the properties on MLS. And so it seems like we're already gaining some traction or positive traction. I know she'll also be sending an email blast out to 7,700 real estate agents across Massachusetts. So she's already hit the ground running and doing a ton of work to really improve our marketing aspect of the property. And tomorrow we'll be putting out an addendum to relist the properties that we didn't receive bids on. We're looking at having those bids, so lot 5, 7, and 9, and I'll probably put a placeholder in for 11. But we're looking at Friday, November 1st, Wednesday, November 6th, Friday, November 8th, and Tuesday, November 12th as the next dates for those bids. And that's all I have.
Thanks for that summary. Yes, next on the agenda is citizens forum. So, is anybody on the line that, wants to ask a question or has a comment to make? Raise your hand and, unmute yourself, state your name and address, and, make your comment. I don't see any hands up, and I don't see anybody unmuting themselves. Going once, oh,
All
there's
right.
Rick.
Hi. Sorry, I was looking to see how to do it in Zoom, but I couldn't figure it out. So the physical hand waves enough?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
It worked.
All right, great. So we reviewed the short-term rental rules and regs that the Board of Selectmen
Rick,
approved.
Rick, just
2 weeks
before you get started, could you just say your name and address for the
Oh,
record?
I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
Rick Kennedy, 17 Bayview Avenue, Nahant. So we reviewed the short-term rental rules and regs that the board approved 2 weeks ago, but we didn't find a section for enforcement in that document, particularly for non-owner occupied short-term rentals. And we were just wondering if someone could provide a reference to where we can find the specific language for that.
Go ahead, Dan.
Dan,
Yeah, Rick, I don't understand the question. Can you please, language to what?
Yeah, well, we looked through the rules and regs for short-term rentals that was approved
Sure.
2 weeks ago. And we
Yep.
didn't see a section in there specifically for enforcement with specific language
Right.
with respect to violations of particularly the non-owner occupied short-term rentals.
Well, you're
So
not gonna
we're
find
wondering
that-
where we can find that specific language, because I think we're going to want to react to it.
They're in the newly passed general bylaws regarding short-term rentals. I forgot what section it is. And it just simply refers to our police bylaws, the non-criminal disposition process that we've adopted, like many other towns and cities have adopted. So that would lay out the enforcement mechanism.
So is that on the website somewhere? Where can I actually read the language
yes.
that's there?
If you give me a second, I can look it up for you. Maybe you want to move on to someone else and I can come back to Rick
Yeah,
and tell
no,
you
it's
exactly.
it's on the website. If you just search bylaw or go to the clerk's page, you'll see general and zoning bylaws.
Okay, and there's language out there regarding definitions for things like cease and desist, those kinds of things.
No, that language is not in the bylaws.
if you think you can find it, Dan, maybe you can hunt around and, when
Yeah.
you find it, you can share it, or Tony, maybe you can share it. And, so hang tight, Rick, and we'll take a couple other comments and, hopefully get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
George, I saw your hand go up fraction of a second before Michelle's. So go ahead.
Okay, George Mahoman, 64 Lennox Road in the Hot Mass. I was just wondering if there's any updates of what they're gonna do with Wilson Road in regards to all the gas lines they've been placing down there. I noticed there's a couple of real bad spots that supposed to have been white marked to be repaired. And it's been probably, I don't know, almost since the day they kind of stopped and never came back to repair the spots that they were supposed to repair. I know that they like to wait a while to have everything settle down before they come back and redo the road over, but they haven't come back to do some spots that I swear they have divots or in them that are gotta be 6 to 8 inches deep. And I was wondering if they're gonna take care of that first, or when are they gonna come back and do the road over? Because Wilson Road is in pretty bad shape since they've dug it all up and inserted all the gas lines.
Yes, George, the paving crew, the last I heard, their plan is to be in town the last week of October.
Okay,
So there's quite a lot of patchwork to be done on Castle, Fox, Emerald, and Wilson. I don't know, where they're gonna start, but you'll see them out there at the end of the month.
when they do the patchwork, are they responsible to come back and say 6 months to a year later to repave the whole street? Because the patchwork to me, is not acceptable.
No, they're not responsible. They're just responsible for the patchwork, for the trench work that they did.
Oh, I thought it was all the years I've worked outside for the phone company and working in the streets and so on and so forth, when contractors came in and did work on the streets and so on and so forth, water lines, gas lines, electric lines, whatever, that the utilities were responsible to come back and repave the whole road. Is there any way you can look into that and find out? Because I believe that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, when they're not disturbing the entire roadway, they're not going to take ownership of repaving an entire roadway. Usually, a lot of that work is scheduled based on the town's pavement schedule. So we send National Grid our paving schedule. We have a 5-year plan. It gets updated annually based on work that we've completed. And then they'll try to schedule work around that so they can get into the street before the town follows up with any utility work they have to do, and then eventually a repave, like Emerald Road is one of those examples. Wilson Road, on the other hand, is not on our paving schedule for the upcoming year, but that gas main really needed to be replaced. So National Grid took it out of order to replace it. And in that case, they're only responsible to repair the trench work that they caused damage to. So we'll have to see how the repair work comes out and, reevaluate Wilson Road according to our overall paving plan.
Also, it's Linda Lane and also Burpee Road too. Are they going to do anything to that also?
Yeah, everywhere they dug the trenches.
Okay, then my next question would be, I've asked you before about this, the crosswalk down on Wilson Road, and we were waiting for them meaning the gas company, to do their job down there, whereas they're not going to repave the whole road and they're going to just do the parts that they deem that needs to be done. Is there any way we can get the town down there now to put the crosswalk back down at the bottom of the public stairs?
Yeah, after the patchwork gets completed, we'll paint that.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, George. Michelle?
Thank you, Michelle Capano, 29 Ocean Street. Just a clarification on the utilities. While I appreciate and I think it's a great move to have a consolidated statement for water, sewer, and taxes, I'm concerned about branding it utilities. We have a public utilities of water and, of electric and gas in the Commonwealth. And there are statutes around that, as well as consumer protection laws around that. So my first question is, what is the appeal process for the abatements? Because I know you went through it quickly, but are you going to be publishing this so the residents can review it and is there an appeal process?
Well, first of all, Michelle, was that 2 questions? In other words, are you saying that it shouldn't be called a utility bill?
Well,
Because
one is branding it utility bill when we have public utilities that are already in existence in the Commonwealth. And then the second is, what is the appeal process for abatements?
Okay, so the first question is, are you suggesting we call it water, sewer, and trash as opposed to utility? Is that clear?
I don't know. I have to think about it. What would be, and I can certainly provide feedback later in writing. I'm just concerned.
I feel like that's a little bit of an overcomplication. We're talking about local utility bills. We're not talking about public utilities in the state. And we're just trying to keep people, trying to get people in the habit of understanding that it's a utility bill that you're receiving, which includes water, sewer, and trash. And when you get an abatement on any of them, it's going to come off the total instead of it being reflected individually upon them. So it's just a simple word change to, make it easier to understand how it works.
So Tony, I like the idea of the consolidated billing process. I'm not trying to divert from that. What my concern is the branding of it when there are established statutes in place around public utilities. Water and sewer are considered public utilities as well. I'm just concerned, like how much review was done to make sure we're not in conflict with any statutes? And then the second part is, what's the appeal process for abatements? Because if you're calling it a utility, it falls under consumer protection. And so consumers, residents, need to understand the process as well as the appeal.
How about we,
We can take it offline. I'm fine. And I'll
so
send something in
we'll
writing.
have town council, review the choice of the word utility and whether it's appropriate or not. And then the second question was, where's the description of the appeal process? You know the answer to that, Tony? I don't.
We don't have an appeal process for abatements. It's a
straightforward.
straightforward.
Applying for the abatement or inquiring about the abatement. Is that what you're asking, Jill?
There's an application. There's 2 applications on the website right now. We're going to consolidate it into one. So you just pull it off the website and submit it to town hall. And there is no appeal process to whether your abatement is approved or denied.
I think the word appeal was my mistake. So I think Michelle didn't ask that. But
I think that was her question.
No, it was my question. It was my question because
oh, I'm sorry.
You're paying a bill, right? Just like if you're paying your, a credit card bill, and there was a calculation error, and you want to appeal, right? Most creditors have an appeal process. You are a creditor, and so it's something to look into because, like I said, I appreciate the consolidated process, and I think it's great. But as residents start looking at their statements and as this keeps going on, there are times when there are issues with water, right? People get very high water bills. Something goes wrong in the system, right?
Mhm.
And so they look to the town for remediation and assistance. Sometimes we can provide it, and other times it's, someone's usage just went out of whack for a particular quarter, right? For whatever reason. And so they may disagree with you. And even though they apply for the abatement and the abatement's denied, they still should be entitled to an appeal process. That's basic consumer protection. And so something to think about, because it could result later on, negatively on the town, that we didn't give the consumer, the resident, that opportunity.
I guess we better follow up this meeting with discussion with town council and see if there's some changes we need to make.
Thank you.
I can initially point out that we don't provide water. The MRWA does. So it would really be the appeal through them, but we can dig more into it, Michelle. It's a good question.
But who is responsible for the water meters?
I don't.
The town, right?
Yeah.
So you're responsible for the equipment. If there's an error in the equipment in the calculation piece, the consumer needs to have recourse. I will say one thing though, and this is when Mark Cullinan was on a member of the Board of Selectmen. I think at one point there was discussion about hopefully bringing to the town more online capabilities around managing your consumption for water and sewer, and that could be via a mobile app as well. And hopefully later on, as you continue, making improvements in efficiency, that can come sooner rather than later.
Yeah. The recourse action is you file for an abatement or an adjustment. And if you fall within the rules and regulations of the Board of Selectmen and you are deemed eligible for that abatement or adjustment, we follow the procedure that's laid out in the rules to calculate what that abatement should be for, or what that adjustment should be for. And it's pretty straightforward process. Either you're eligible or you're not. And how it's calculated is exactly as it's described in the rules and regs. And I'm not suggesting any changes to that at all. That's how it's been for years and what it's been since before.
No, I think there's a step here that should be just evaluated, and it is my point. Okay, well, thank you.
Thanks,
And
Michelle.
then as far as the other comment, the new water meter system that we're working on has the potential for individual mobile app to be able to look at live usage and get alerts on any sort of, drop or increase in usage. So we're looking into that software now, the new water meters that we're going to hopefully be installing over the next few years.
Thanks, Tony. Brendan?
Brendan Bronick Olmsted, 2 Summer Street. General question, there's a tree in Margarine Park that if it falls the wrong way may take out National Grid power lines. Is that a town problem or National Grid problem?
If it's a town-owned tree, we can have the tree warden take a look at it to see if it's healthy or not.
Well, I can see the underlying bark is broken off and maybe a woodpecker has been at it, so that I guess I just go to the town website and file something or call the town tree warden.
If you send me an email and maybe with a picture of the tree that you're talking about, I'll just have him go and take a look.
Okay, all right, I can do that.
Thank you,
Thank-
Brendan.
All right. Did we find anything for Rick Kennedy?
Yes, we did. Josh, Rick, if you look at the general bylaws, Article 23, Section 8 makes reference to the enforcement mechanism, which will
Okay.
take you to the police bylaws. If I can dig deeper into the woods, Rick, I know you're worried about 47 Gardner, and we follow this process to the T. And we're at the verge of actually going to Lynn District Court seeking an injunction. At the same time, though, we've been assured that they have no longer have any short-term rental reservations left. So anything left will be long-term reservations, which are more than 28 days. So that we've been assured of that most recently. I'm looking to confirm that maybe this evening after the meeting. But we've made some progress in that regard, even though I know it doesn't look like we have from your perspective, but we have.
Okay, we still see short-term guests staying there as early as
You
this
saw it
morning.
this weekend, and we were sure this is the last one. They were able to relocate the other short-term rentals, but this is the last one they couldn't. From now on, we've been assured that there are nothing but long-term renters at 47 or 47 Gardner.
Right. Okay, it's just, been going on since August, so we're just, kind of.
Well, Rick, as a former state
hopeful that
employee, you know how hard enforcement is. As a former games and
Oh,
game
yeah,
official,
yeah.
you know how hard it is, and we're on it. But it doesn't look. It's not pretty. But
I
we're
expect
doing
town
our best.
government to be better than state government.
Yes, that's a good expectation. Perfect. Keep that thought process.
Well, much
Yeah.
better.
So, all right, well, we'll continue to kind of monitor the situation and keep KK Sherber informed and,
Yeah.
do what we've been doing. But, it's just kind of like, I'd like to see this stuff written up somewhere, the progression, I know there was a graduated kind of fine, but it's almost like they've, sort of factored that into their business plan, So, we're glad to hear that there's been some progress and just continue to monitor things. So, thank you.
Well, like we said in the last meeting, you guys are the front line. The citizens are the front line for this enforcement, and you are certainly a great example of that. So there we go.
Okay. Somebody have a question? All right, thank you.
Thanks,
you,
Rick.
All right, I don't see any other hands up. And I don't think we need executive session, unless Dan, there's something about Coast Guard houses that you had in mind to share.
No, nothing new really has happened. We're just going through some motion practice, but nothing new to report.
Okay, in that case,
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
roll call vote.
Gene Canty, aye.
Rob Tibble, aye.
Josh Everett, aye. Thanks, everyone.